December 1st, 2020 is a day of infamy. Mark it on your calendar, my friends, because today is the day that I join Commander. Rejoice! Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. Yes, you heard the intro correctly. I am finally delving into Commander, and that's because I finally have my chosen golden boy Commander, the card that I have wanted for a very, very, very long time. And the card that I said if I ever got my hands on it, I would make it my Commander and dive into the format. So no more teasing! No more teasing, you guys. I have the card right here. I'm gonna put it up on the screen as I turn it around here, because in all honesty, there's no way you're gonna be able to see the majesty properly if you don't see like a nice, beautiful digital image. So let's take a look at, and I'm gonna be real, I'm not 100% how you say his name. I've always called him Hazazon. That's always how it's felt to me, but I could see it being Hazazon. I could see it being Hazazon Tamar. Whatever you like, go with it. I call him Hazazon Tamar. So this guy for me has been my dream commander for a number of different reasons. I don't think that I can properly encapsulate exactly how excited I am to have this card. What you need to understand is, first of all, I guess we should talk about what the card itself is, and then I'll get into all of what it means to me. So, 1 red, 1 green, 1 white, and 4 colorless. So we've got a huge casting cost on this guy. And he's 2/4. I will fully admit that his stats feel a little bit underwhelming. Okay, the 2/4, it's like, okay, remember, back in the day, like when cards like this were designed, their power level and variance was all over the place. So it's 7 mana for a 2/4, and he's basically, his ability, the old school wording is, on your next upkeep after Hazazon is put into play, put star token Sand Warriors into play, where star is the number of lands under your control. Treat the warriors as 1/1 white, green, and red creatures. If Hazazon leaves play, all Sand Warriors are also removed from the game. Now, what's most interesting about his ability is the weird delayed trigger that is like the first part of it, right? Magic was slower in some ways when we started. There were some blazingly fast cards. Obviously, things like the Mox and Lotus make it so that Magic moved at a quick pace in some ways, but the game overall mostly felt slower. I mean, if you go and play a game of Standard right now, it feels pretty blisteringly fast. But back then, we kind of fumbled our way around and had fun with it. So there were a bunch of cards that instead of having an immediate effect, would happen later. Like Ice Age had these cantrip cards where they would draw you a card, but you would have to wait until the next upkeep to draw a card. And that was an attempt to balance it out. So under today's current rules and the way Magic works now, they would never make a card like Hazazon with the same wording. He would say, when he comes into play, make that many 1/1 warrior tokens, Sand Warrior tokens, right? It wouldn't say, wait a turn. So Hazazon comes out, a trigger goes off that says, during the next upkeep, we're going to make X 1/1s where it's equal to the number of lands you have out when the trigger resolves. So you don't count up the lands when you cast Hazazon, and you don't make the tokens when you cast Hazazon. The next turn at the beginning of your upkeep, that's when you count up your lands and make the 1/1 tokens. Now, admittedly, that's very bizarre, right? That's very bizarre. So I want to talk about why I am in love with this card so much. This card was created back in 1994. It comes from the Legends expansion, which is literally the 3rd expansion for Magic the Gathering, and the first expansion that I was able to get my hands on, because Antiquities and Arabian Nights weren't available for sale when I started. They had already sold off. Now, because Magic sets back then briefly appeared and disappeared. So, for example, Legends, I only ever got to buy 3 booster packs of this. For one reason, it's like I had a limited allowance. I was a kid. But more importantly, Legends was only on the shelf for 1 day. And there was a little sign taped to it that said, maximum 3 packs allowed per customer. And that actually was normal for a little while at the Magic shops until Fallen Empires came along and like glutted the market. So I can actually remember a time where I saw a sign taped to Fallen Empires boxes saying max 3 packs per customer per day, right? And it makes me laugh to think about that because Fallen Empires was mass printed, printed like billions of Fallen Empires cards. But we were used to the massive scarcity model where there wasn't enough Magic to go around. And for me, actually, Legends was the biggest choke point in Magic. I had an easier time getting Arabian Night cards. I had an easier time getting cards from Antiquities. Like, to put it into perspective for you, I had a Black Lotus, multiple Moxes, and other stuff on that level. But Legend stuff, oh my God, it was so hard to get, to the point where me and my one friend made an agreement that any cards we had from Legends in terms of rares or anything like that, commons were okay, you could get those, right? But when it came to rares and even uncommons, we would have a deal where we would only trade these Legend cards back and forth to make sure that they never left the city, because they were just like so hard to come by. And you couldn't just go online and easily order stuff like you can now, right? Like, we lived in a genuine scarce model. And I have to say, there were some really nice advantages to it. It made Magic into more of an exploratory journey where you couldn't go online and see all the cards beforehand. You didn't know what was rare, and you didn't know what existed until either you stumbled on the card yourself and put it into a deck, or your opponent does something insane and you're like, you can't do that. And you read the card and go, oh my God, you can do that. What is this? What? So Legends are super, super scarce. These cards are really hard to come by. And I had a Hazes on way back in the day, right? And I never played with them. But the thing was, for me, Richard Kane Ferguson, the man who did the artwork on this card, is my absolute favorite Magic artist. His artwork is so distinctive. There is a group of Magic artists that I consider the classic Magic artists. And by that, I mean they were part of the game when it started. And their artwork was so striking and also stylistic to them particularly that you can pull their artwork out from wherever. Like, you can point at a Quentin Hoover artwork and go, that's Quentin Hoover. You can see the strong dark outline lines that he does or whatever. But Richard Kane Ferguson's artwork always stood out the most to me out of all of the classic artists. And part of it was because some of his art feels more abstract and crazy and you can't tell what's going on. Hazes on is actually a rarity in that it's very, very obvious what's being depicted in the artwork. So first of all, he's from a set that's super, super hard to get. Legends has always been massively treasured by me. It's artwork from my absolute favorite artist, and it feels like a really cool ability to bring to Commander, right? The idea of creating a bunch of 1/1 tokens equal to the number of lands you have out for free is really, that feels really solid. The fact that it's a delayed trigger actually gives you new things to play around with, whereas I put out Hazes on, right? I've got a bunch of, I make a bunch of tokens. Hold on. The scenario I'm trying to lay out is where Hazes on has the ability under current wording. So imagine a Hazes on where you put him out right away, and when he comes out, he makes the Sand Warrior tokens instantly based on the number of lands you have. But he obviously still has the other condition that says when Hazes on goes, remove all Sand Warriors. Is it exile them or? Yeah, you remove them from the game. You remove all of the Sand Warrior tokens from the game. So normally, I'd put them out, make my tokens, and then you go, boom, blow them up. All my tokens are gone. That all happens in one turn. Now, I put out Hazes on, right? The next turn, you go to pop him, because that's when you need to do it. You need to wait until all the tokens resolve. But here's the thing. Now I got to untap all the mana that I spent casting Hazes on, so I can have protective spells to give him protection from whatever color, or give him indestructible, whatever it is, so you can't destroy him. There's also the fact that depending on how much mana you have, you can put out Hazes on, you could sacrifice him or whatever, and then you could basically just put him back in the command zone and put him out again and cast him a bunch of times to the point where on your next upkeep, you're going to get multiple triggers for these Sand Warrior tokens. I feel like there is a massive amount of actually cool potential with this guy. All these factors are lining up perfectly. I'm getting into Commander on December 1st. So we're in the month of Christmas. Hazes On's colors are Christmas colors, the whole vibe. I'm just so stoked about this, man. Now, I haven't really picked out a ton of cards for the deck. And this is actually where you guys come in, because I know a bunch of people are really excited about me getting into Commander. So I'm going to give you guys a free-for-all. Up until now, I've been ignoring people's suggestions for Commander. And I'm going to build my first deck without really, like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this deck right here, okay? And see how it's white, red, green, or whatever? I'm basically just going to use this to grab an easy-to-go mana base and then build from there. So I'm cheating a little to speed myself up. I basically can just grab Oban, toss him to the side, and there you go. Now we've got my new, like, Commander deck to start with. But this is just bare bones, and obviously these decks aren't that strong, and the cards in there aren't going to be tuned to Hazezon. So it's mostly about just grabbing out an easy mana base. Because I'll be real, I've messed around with my cube and everything else, but I don't keep proper mana bases around because I don't need them. With the cube, it doesn't use lands. So I've gotten rid of a bunch of lands. And like a lot of Magic lands are attractive to players, so, you know, they're great trading materials, whatever it is. It all boils down to me not having a bunch of awesome lands on hand, but this comes with whatever. So I start with that mana base, add in the Hazezon. I'm going to try out Food Chain because that seems insane. So feel free to leave your suggestions below on what I should add into the deck. I'm going to go through the cards I already own and start from there and kind of build a Frankenstein cobbled together monster, because I'll be real, man, the Commander format is very different than anything that I'm used to, so I'm going to have to adjust to the way that the format functions, but I am pretty excited. I like the fact that you can take, like, I can take Hazezon and I can build multiple decks for him, right? If I have him separate, he's triple protected, by the way. We've got Perfect Fit, another sleeve, and a hard top loader. Keep him nice and fresh. So, because he's like this, right, he's not just going to be shuffled into the deck. I can have multiple groups of 99 cards to have multiple different Commander decks. Like, that's awesome. And guys, we didn't even talk about the artwork. How awesome does Hazezon look? He looks like a crazy Lord of Battle. Honestly, when you look at his artwork, you go, no way, man, this dude can't be 2-4. Look at the size of that blade. He's got a massive curving scimitar, and he's standing there looking every inch like a king, a leader amongst men, for real, dude. And the way that other elements combine to make him look like, first of all, you have him with an impressive sort of flowing width, right? His cloak is billowing out around him. He's got this older kind of wise aspect. He looks like a battle-hardened wise man, right? But then you can also see that the sun is like rising behind him. Seeing him at this moment would be awe-inspiring. You would see him with the sun at his back. But not only that, look at the warriors that are arrayed behind him. You have two warriors exactly behind him in perfect position with their spears to actually frame it like he's sitting on a throne. It kind of gives you that vibe. It adds to like the kingly nature of him. He looks absolutely amazing. And the fact that he can summon up all these sand warriors is incredible too, dude. He's actually like a major character in some of the Magic novels, which means we're going to get to cover him on the lore channel, which is back up and running, by the way. If you're a patron over there, the early access release of the newest lore video is waiting for you. And if you're not a patron, well, good news. The video comes out tomorrow and you'll be able to watch it. So I'm going to have the opportunity to tell the story of Hazezon as well, which to me is like, it's super exciting, dude. The card is amazing on so many levels. And it's crazy. If you go and read the wiki on Hazezon, it's just like a little sentence. And it's like, dude, how can you take such an amazing character like this and just, oh, here you go, here's one sentence. Like, the Hazezon is awesome. And it's like, he's not like this perfect, pristine, like, I was born from goodness. He's got some questionable stuff going on in his past that adds to his character. And, you know, dude, it's awesome. This is stuff from the old school of Magic. So either way, you can tell, I'm pretty excited about diving into Commander. A big thank you to MTG Moxman for sending me this card, because honestly, these are super hard to come by. And apparently he had 5 kicking around. MTG Moxman don't play. He got a lot of goodness. So my thanks for making my dream of having Hazezon Tamar come true. I've got a card that I've wanted for many, many years. Artwork from my favorite artist. I'm going to use it to dive into Commander and further expand my enjoyment of Magic the Gathering. So, my friends, let me know what you think in the comments below, all right? It's great for the channel. If you like what I'm doing, like, comment, subscribe. That's all fantastic. You can hop on my Patreon if you love what I'm doing. And other than that, you know what? Since the lore channel is going to be jumping back to life tomorrow fully, I'll put a link up here to the newest lore video that was released earlier so you can get yourself up to speed for tomorrow when the lore video drops. So, thanks for coming by, and I will see you guys later on.